this is Corey Washington on another installment of the Jimi Hendrix Black Legacy vlog. And for this particular installment, I want to talk about Jimi Hendrix's impact on a particular genre, the genre of jazz. Now we know Jimi Hendrix was considered a rock artist or a blues artist or something similar to that fashion, but he also branched out into many different genres, which I covered in my first book, Jimi Hendrix, Nobody Cages Me. In my second book, Jimi Hendrix Black Legacy, A Dream Deferred, I talk about Jimi's impact specifically on jazz, where I get into detail using two interviews that I did with Bleu and Juma Sultan, both people who had extensive knowledge of Jimi and his impact on jazz. As Bleu brought out in the interview, Jimi Hendrix was learning the language of jazz. He wasn't quite there yet. He was trying to take some correspondence courses on music at the Berklee College of Music and trying to learn how to read music. He was working with Miles Davis and so forth. But just the impact of the things that he did do was significant. For instance, we have to look at the particular time frame we're talking about. 1966, 1967, 68, 69, 70. Very pivotal years in the early formation of what they now call fusion or jazz fusion. Jimi Hendrix was not the first to do fusion music, but he was certainly the biggest star doing fusion music, which was a big deal. As Bleu brought out, he had the fame to really bring this to the forefront in the pop world and so forth. Jimi Hendrix's drummer, Mitch Mitchell, had a lot to do with Jimi's fusion sound, as he was a drummer who fashioned himself after the great jazz drummers in the world of jazz. You can hear this on songs like Manic Depression, Third Stone from the Sun. Even later on, Jimi did a more straight-ahead jazz tune like South Saturn Delta. All of these jazz elements would continuously pop up in Jimi's music, so that it wasn't just a fluke. It was all over the place. It was embedded in his music. He also worked with Larry Young, who was also another fusion pioneer, who worked with Miles Davis and so forth. Jimi wanted to work with jazz players, and jazz players wanted to work with Jimi, because jazz players saw that Jimi had that improvisational DNA, and that certainly was something that they could relate to. Also, Jimi saw that the greats of jazz would push him to the highest levels of intellectualism within his music. What stood in the way? Money, as always, as well as his manager, Mike Jeffries. So I go into great detail in Jimi Hendrix Black Legacy. So if you haven't had a chance, check out this book where you can read about it. These people, Bleu and Juma Sultan, certainly could tell you better than I could. So check it out. Jazzy Jimi.